If you're married this morning, your spouse is busy, you're getting each other together, or you're getting the kids together, or the whole family's just up. It's a cacophony of activity. That's part of the beauty of family life. The chaos, the ups, the downs, you suffer through it together. We're not an island. We are made for companionship in a lot of different ways. And I think studies show, I've read before, that married couples, even though you may think this is going to be the death of me, sometimes married couples do tend to live longer. And you've seen it. Generally, in older couples that are married, that they just have that thing. You ever see that and you go, gosh, I hope that happens. I liked being married so much, I've done it twice so far, maybe a third one sometime, I don't know. But Dr. John Braccio will talk about that. The importance. Some people think hey, we could just be together. Who needs a ring? Who needs a certificate? Who needs a big party and ceremony? It's beyond that. Regional Psychological Services, East Lansing, Dr. John Braccio. Good morning, Doc. How many years have you been married to the fine Mrs. Braccio?
It's over 50 years now. April 5th will be 51 years, actually. So we've been together quite a while, I might add.
Wow.
And it actually gets better all the time. It's been a very good marriage. I might give a shout out to my wife, and also to, I think today is just a shout out to marriage in general. As we know, marriage may not be for everyone, as we know, but I think we live in an age where many persons argue marriage is really outdated, and that persons have little need to make a long-term commitment. I'm of the opinion. This is generally not true, and that for people, marriage is something they should consider, okay, and hopefully enter into. To be fair, as I just mentioned to you, I have been married 50 years and still love the person very much that I married. And we also have 2 wonderful children and 5 wonderful grandchildren that result from our making a choice to get married. With that said, I believe marriage offers so much to a person that can enhance their lives that they would not have if they didn't make the commitment. Okay, I'm not saying there aren't going to be struggles and disagreements that will always occur when 2 persons live together and share a life over hopefully a lifetime. No, I would argue they can most often be worked out when 2 people have sufficient love and each is willing to compromise for the sake of the other and their long-term, commitment. I'm simply really, commenting that marriage can be a really good thing. And as you said, you've been married 2 times, so I would say the same thing to a person that, if the first marriage didn't work, that doesn't mean it's not something to try, okay, to try again. And because let's talk about some of the advantages, Mike, that really come from a good marriage, potentially can come. Reciprocal, physical, emotional, and even spiritual love. Commitment to another person to live with them for a lifetime, companionship, and not suffering the loneliness that so many persons experience, at least sometimes in their lives, because as you said, we are social animals. A solid family environment to have and raise children if you desire. Financial security that occurs when a couple lives together and they combine their resources and efforts. Emotional security from knowing there is somebody who will always be there in good and bad times. Often live a longer life when 2 persons are looking after the health of each other and caring for them when there is a need. This is what you had mentioned. Sure, 2 people are living together, looking after each other, and they're hopefully happy together. That can certainly have a very positive impact on your lifespan. And then religious, family, or cultural expectations can lead to persons being married. A sense of identity and belonging in a relationship where there are opportunities for both persons to grow together as a team, and if desired, to also have children and grandchildren they share, and hopefully, happy, for their lifetime together. My point here is not to glamorize marriage or to attack those who choose not to marry, but to simply indicate there are many advantages to being married if a person is capable and desirous of loving a person and being committed to them for a lifetime. And I think at this point you're at that situation, aren't you, Mike? You really want this marriage you're in to last for a lifetime and enjoy the time being together. Isn't that true?
Well, and we're at a point after 25 years this time around. I made it to 11 the first, and that was, I was a kid. But we're at a point where sometimes, Doc, we both, or sometimes Lisa will look at me or I'll look at the big hair, and independently we go like, what? Come on. Is there, it's like you said, the good with the bad. But overwhelmingly, the majority of the time, even in times like that, we look at it and there's that common goal, there's a common thread, there's a connection there that I can't even put my finger on it. And that I think is important. It's it was put to me one time. It's called it's you burn the boats. In other words, when you get to the new world of marriage, you don't leave the boats out there anchored in the harbor saying, well, if you want to go back to the old world, you can. No, you burn the boats, and
Well,
there's no transportation off.
I think if people really, when they decide to get married, they really, the idea is to really make a go of it, to have it work. Like you say, you were married 11 years, that didn't work, and I don't deny that divorce occurs, and many times it's the right thing based on the circumstances. The point I'm doing is indicating that when you do marry, okay, and we'll even say if it's the second time, the goal is to do it for a lifetime. If you're really doing this, there may be those that do it under different circumstances, and I recognize we live in a world of diversity of thought and opinions and things can occur. But I'm doing a shout out for the idea of being married, of a traditional kind of a family, we'll call it, which is being less so these days, but putting a shout out for the idea of being married to somebody, working as a team, growing together. It can be spiritual if you have spiritual beliefs, but certainly in your goals financially, economically, personally, sexually, things that keep you together where you can grow as a team. And I think those are things to really aim for, and having a companion. And really from a lifespan, there's no question if two people are together and each is looking after the other, they're together, that this can certainly lead to a long and bountiful life. Things can happen to anybody along the way, but certainly if you have a team member that's with you, trying to put guardrails every now and then on what you might be doing, but looking after you and sorting out, mutually needs and caring for each other, for better and for worse, is still a very good phrase if you enter into a relationship that way. So, yeah, I'm a big advocate for marriage. I'll give my wife a lot of credit. She's a pretty easy person to live with. And like you say, if you've married that long, and like you've been in it 20-some years this time around, and I believe your father-in-law even lives with you. Isn't that true?
Oh, yeah. So, he lives with us now, and Mom's passed on, but he still talks about her as if she's here sometimes. And he knows she's gone. But what I'm saying is that bond she was so much a part of him and him her. When you talk to him, it's like you're talking to both of them. And people used to come up and say, they are the cutest little couple. But they met in high school. And he went off to the Army for 2 years because you had to do that, and came back. He said to me one time, he says, you know what? I've always been taken care of. I said, what do you mean? He said, I grew up in a home with 9 other siblings. I went off. I was going to get married to Harleen right then out of school. We were both on board. Her dad talked me into getting the Army out of the way. So the Army took care of me for 2 years. I came back, and Harleen took care of me the rest of the time. I've always been taken care of. I just thought that was an interesting take on things.
Well, that is a wonderful take, and now he lives with you folks. So I think this is it's positive, and I think that he would be a good example of someone. And even now, he talks of her as if she's still there. That's how the two of them bonded. See, those are great stories, Mike, and I think we live in a world where everybody tells the story of how things don't work, and I recognize that. I'm certainly realistic, as you are, and you, like you said, you were young the first time. But the thing is, when we're in this bond and we make this relationship and we grow together, we work as a team, and we work out disagreements, and we do them without people are going to get mad and say things and do things, yelling, we call it, but sometimes. Okay, but the point is, take a time out, you talk about things, you try to work things out, you try to really grow together. That's part of a good relationship. If someone is just agreeing and going along and feeling they're being lost in a relationship, that's bad. We're talking about sharing and being, two team members rushing off into the world and loving, caring, and really looking after each other in a good way.
If you're in it for the party and the fireworks and the lovey-dovey feelings and stuff, boy, you're in for a long haul. And if all you're doing is a financial arrangement and just the feel good, and because it makes sense, you're in for the wrong stuff, because there's got to be a deeper connection there. Doc, we're up on time. We got to get going here. 1320 WILS. But I appreciate it. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services of East Lansing, marriage. It's interesting. It's kind of a base part of society, really, and it's on the decline, unfortunately. So I don't think we've got to do a better job of letting people know and understand what it means on a deeper level. But Doc, we're up on time. It's great to talk to you, my friend.
Okay, my friend. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. 1320 WILS. Taking a time out. Coming back with Chris Swope, Lansing City Clerk. We'll talk about the preps for absentee ballots and stuff, and a whole bunch more here. 721. Ooh, yeah, we got to get going. 1320 WILS.